Good afternoon. Welcome back to Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock. We have another beautiful and wonderful spirit, wonderful soul that'll be gracing our audience tonight to talk about different type of thing with holistic practices and how it can help you improve your life. But I want to tell you to log on to Expansion of Consciousness at expansionofconsciousness.com. At Expansions of Consciousness. You can find us on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. We're live on um, Twitter. We're live on we're live on LinkedIn as well. So it's all these platforms. It's just so hard to keep up with all of them. But I hope everybody has been doing well. Everyone has enjoyed the Easter weekend. Everyone is revved up and ready to hear about different ways to improve their life, different techniques you can use to get to the next level. But this young lady, Michele Parad, Michele is a holistic business coach who helps entrepreneurs launch, grow their mission-driven businesses, live their best possible life, and increase impact and prosperity through mastery of their sale method. Michele has 12 years of marketing and business development experience in helping businesses scale through innovative partnerships, campaigns, events, and communication. Michele became deeply passionate about the study of consciousness, mindset, and the well-being 7 years ago, and immersed herself in various spiritual modalities, including kabbalah, energy healing, and gene keys, and studied with renowned shamans around the world. Michele is an advanced theta healing practitioner. And before I bring Michele on, isn't it fascinating how guest after guest after guest, they all bring unique skills to the table. They all bring something valuable for the audience to listen to. And I'm excited about that. So we're going to go ahead and bring Michele on right now. Hey there, Michele. How you doing?
Hi, doing well. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Cool,
I
cool,
have
cool.
to
I am
say that
so
I loved
excited.
the music going
You
in.
like the
Just
intro?
right new consciousness, just
Everybody
get
likes the intro.
started, right?
You know, everybody loves that intro. And one time I had one of the guests on, they were in the background, just, jamming to it. I was like, oh, wow. So it is, again, I told the audience a minute ago, it's really exciting to, have accomplished people such as yourself to come onto the show who really take what they do seriously, who's really out there researching different ways to help change mindset, help people who want it, change their performance, all with using a number of spiritual modalities. And I have a practitioner and coach and business leader, thought leader, one person after another. They come on and they share outstanding information. And we're excited that you're here, but we want to know, and everybody has a story. Can you tell us what moved you in this direction?
Yes. So for me, I started on this journey um, accidentally, but not accidentally, right? It was at the time of what I found out later was my Saturn return. So I was in a kind of slump, and it on the surface didn't appear like I should be in that kind of depressed state because I had everything that you would wish for. I had a steady job in tech. I was living in San Francisco at the time. And yeah, just, I had friends and I was living what would be the dream for many people. But I felt that there was something really significantly missing from my life. And it kind of launched me. A couple different things happened, but one significant occurrence was I was in Davos actually putting together an event and my knee went out the night
Mm.
before the big event. And
Oh, wow.
so, it occurred to me that I had subconsciously self-sabotaged myself because I was so nervous about meeting very important people. And so it was one of the launch pads to kind of slow down and reassess what I was doing with my life, but also it was the first point in time that I really noticed how powerful my mind was, whether it's in a positive
Words.
or in a negative direction, right? Um,
Right.
and so that was the launching pad. And since then, I was searching. I had family friends that were really into Kabbalah. So that was the first word that came to mind for me to look into. I was never really into religion per se. I have a Jewish background, but never really found my home, I would say, within the religious space. Um, Not to say there isn't, many beautiful aspects of all the religions, but I hadn't connected with it deeply enough. And I didn't have someone to show me kind of where there was the depth to it. And so it wasn't until I came across not just any Kabbalah school, but a Hermetic Kabbalistic mystery school. And that was my first introduction to spirituality. So I dove right into the depths, kind of going from zero to, angels and dragons and, the
Michelle,
whole.
you dug deep. You went like really to Kabbalah school. A lot
Yeah.
of us read books and we studied and we researched. You actually went to the Kabbalah school, so that's big. And I wanted to go too. I just didn't have the money.
Yeah, it can be expensive, it's true. But I have to say that at that time, I was given that opportunity. There was a a an amount of cash that came through that was specific for me for that schooling. I can't really explain
Did
it,
you manifest it?
but yeah, I manifested it somehow and it came through and it was exactly the amount that I needed. And again, at that time, I had no idea what manifesting was, but somehow,
Okay.
this was meant to come through. And so, you know, I want to say every modality has its pluses and minuses, and that's really not minuses per se, but I think there is some aspects of shadow to any kind of modality or schooling. And over time, having experienced so many different types, it's been kind of my addiction or obsession to really dig into, okay, what does work? What do I want to discard from this? What do I want to keep from this? What resonates, what doesn't, because we're all human beings, and human beings are imperfect. And even if there is something that is coming through a lineage that is ancient and has a lot of important knowledge and important understandings, for us all to learn, it shouldn't be just a mystery. It should be, for all of those that are knowledge seekers. Um, and it's navigating through that really is the part of what I've had to experience and
Yeah.
come out the other end, and therefore helping other people navigate those different realms as well.
So okay, so we're gonna get back to the
Yeah.
modalities because you tell by the end of the show, we're ready for you. No, but what I want to talk about, what I want to talk about is, you are a business coach, lifestyle coach, holistic coach. You adapt and you coach it all. And I know that you probably have a few areas that you like to focus in. Talk to us about your coaching program and
Mhm.
all that entails. We're going to go to your website a little later in the conversation, but just kind of tell us
Yeah.
about, you coaching and the way you started to use the modalities to, well, actually your toolbox, the way you reached in your toolbox and how you figure out who gets what.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I have a program called Sell Your Brilliance, and it's really something I came up with because first and foremost, it came out of my own struggle to define how I was going to help people and help the world. When I first started out on the healing path, I was just giving, Reiki and theta healing sessions to people. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Um, it's just that over time, I began to realize that there was a lot more that I could be offering to people that was an expansion of who I was. And so it was really kind of this evolution that got me to a place where I started to realize I could fuse my business background with the spiritual knowledge,
I
um,
love it.
and present
Yes.
that in a way that is really helpful to people. And I found that, you know, there's either one of two scenarios. Either one is that people are in a really purposeful path and they love what they're doing, but the abundance piece hasn't really come in fully for them. Or, they could be successful, but the purpose part isn't part, an aspect of their day-to-day life. And so I wanted to help people understand themselves better so that they can really create a container that allows them to have both.
And I'm gonna
And
go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and put this up while you're talking as well. Just such a beautiful website. It actually goes with what you're saying. So let's just go ahead and put this up, and then you can just continue, and I'll move through it as you direct me.
amazing. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can click on the right hand side and scroll down to where it says "Sell Your Brilliance." So that's the program. That's a 3-month program that I have. And it basically really takes somebody through from understanding their blueprint, that is their prosperity blueprint according to gene keys, which is one of the modalities that I work with. But you can also look at your astrology, you can look at your human design. There's different tools that you can start out with to really understand a little bit better, how you're designed, what's the format that you're meant to be contributing to the world. Is it as a coach? Is it as a facilitator? Is it as a consultant? Is it as, a techpreneur? Right. And so, the idea or essence behind what you may be wanting to bring forth, it's oftentimes can be vague, and we look to other people as to how they brought it out into the world rather than really looking inside ourselves to source, the way that we want to bring it about. And so
Exactly.
yeah, so it really starts with understanding ourselves better, digging a little bit deeper into those spiritual tools, but it's also teaching, how to tap into your own inner wisdom, how to look at how to connect more deeply with your higher self, how to connect with source, and doing that on a day-to-day basis, to really channel through, what your next steps are. I mean, it could just be as easy as, what's the next action item I should be doing, right? And we don't ask
Yeah.
ourselves that enough. We wake up and we're just like, all right, like, I, let's look at what's going on the outside and react to that, right? But the power really comes from being able to um, be aligned and then focus on, what our higher self is ultimately telling us to do. And so, one is essentially helping people understand their own internal mechanism for that. And
Hmm.
people can be a little, individual. There's different ways to do that to start out with. You can do muscle testing, there's meditations that you can do. But there's also some subconscious work that most people need to do as well to really open themselves up to the possibility that they do have a one-on-one connection with source. It's not meant for just priests, it's not meant for just, healers or psychics or whatever. Every individual has that God-given right, and it's just about re-educating them to have that awareness at the end of the day.
So I have a question for you, Michele. A person could be just watching the show right now and just absolutely love what you're talking about. And then they're sitting there saying to themselves, well, how do I connect to my subconscious mind? I hear myself talking. That's my subconscious mind. Some people
Mhm.
really don't know that we
Yeah.
have a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, higher self, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
super subconscious. So how does a person understand that there's a difference between those two minds, conscious, subconscious, and what exactly are they listening for in order to move themselves forward?
Mm. It's a great question, and it can be tricky at the beginning to differentiate, right? What is the voice of just my thoughts, and what's the voice of something a little bit more of a higher consciousness? And it takes a lot of practice, of course, to differentiate. But ultimately, one of the things that you can for sure know, is this just my ego or my, I don't want to lower self, but or my conscious mind, is if it's in a judgmental state, right? Or if it's kind of like, oh, I have to do this or that, or like what's the essence of where it's coming from? That's oftentimes not from a higher consciousness place. Like, higher consciousness is all loving. It's coming from a deeper essence,
Mm.
and it's not going to be judgmental. It's not going to be saying things in a negative way. So that's at least, one differentiator. Um, but what I was mentioning about the subconscious is that, you know, the subconscious is actually what we manifest. Like 95% of what we manifest is through our subconscious mind. And it's really a place that you can access and tap into when you get into a meditative state. So when you lower your brain frequencies to a theta brainwave, for example,
Yeah.
which
Some
is
of you
this kind
mystic theta.
of dreamlike state, you can more likely talk to that part of your brain. So that's where you can access it. And I mean, I can go into a whole
No, and I'm smiling because
but
when I
that's where
hear
it is.
guests talk like this, it just makes me smile because you're giving such great, pure knowledge, and you're dropping it hot. I mean, you dropping the knowledge, very, very concise, and conscious mind is tricky. It can be tricky between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. I'm a professional remote viewer, and I'm also a scientific remote viewer. We depend on the subconscious mind to give us the information to uncover unknown objects, lost, people, places, or things that have not been uncovered, without having a clue on where they are. And we
Oh, yeah,
depend
absolutely.
on the subconscious mind to give us the answer. And the way I was taught by my instructor was, when we're doing the remote viewing, associate remote viewing, or scientific, it requires you to have a steady diet of meditation, so that you
Yes.
can, like you said a minute ago, move yourself to that depth. But once you get to the depth, I call it transcendence because I'm a transcendental meditator. But once you get to
Oh,
transcendence, meaning that
I
you're
I like
down there in
transcendental meditation. Is that what you're mentioning? Yes, that's beautiful.
TM, or
Yes.
and once you reach transcendence around 16, 17 minutes, and you're just there in this peace and this thought,
Mm,
you're able to know the difference if you do it over and over and over. My
right.
instructor taught me this one thing: when when you ask questions of the subconscious mind, if you don't get the answer in 1.2 seconds, anything after that is the conscious mind speaking for you. So
Mm,
at the first low line piece of information, and that's the way we're
yes,
taught in remote viewing, and that's
yes.
how I was able to walk the other parts of my spiritual journey, with the galactic energy healing, with
Amazing.
I'm a quantum hypnosis healer, practitioner, and with certified hypnotherapy. But all that stuff is exactly what you said: getting the answers, but knowing how to differentiate between the conscious and the subconscious mind.
Mhm. I love that in terms of
Absolutely.
what you were saying about, it's the first thing that comes to mind, and
Yes.
it sometimes can come in different forms. Like it could be an image, it could be a whisper, it could be a symbol, it could come in many formats. And the point is not to second guess what information we're getting, but to think through how to interpret it and trust it. Ultimately trust it, yeah. And that comes with practice, because once you start trying to remote view for on other people, then when you give them information about themselves and it's true, you gain confidence in the fact that you are getting the right information. So that's
Okay.
also one way to practice, is see if you can just project your energy into someone else's field and see what you pick up about them and tell them. And then if they confirm, you're onto something. So, and
Is
that,
that after? Is that meditation first, and then go into that particular phase, or it just calm down and do it?
well, I think over time you can get to a place where you can just do it. Um, but at the beginning, yes, it probably makes sense to at least, a 1 minute meditation of centering your mind, even just grounding yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
I love it. Got a question for you, coach. Okay, so question for you: How can anybody, person, just build a business around their gifts?
yeah,
We
that's a
all
great.
have these gifts, so how can you know what I mean? How can we build our business around our gifts?
Yeah, we all have our own genius, right? God has created us for a specific reason, and for a specific mission. And it's for us to unlock that through our experiences. And oftentimes, it is kind of the traumatic events that we sometimes endure that turn into the gold, that turn into what we're actually here to do a lot of the times. It's the experiences and the obstacles that we've overcome that sometimes we have to share the wisdom that we received, from those experiences.
Yes.
And so there's no coincidence in anything we experience, but it's up to us to really dig deeply into what's the nugget that I received from that? What's the virtue that I received? What's the skill I received? How did this make me become a better person? And once you start identifying these patterns, you can start to create at least, these like clouds of information about yourself. Start putting them into these little buckets of, how amazing you are. And that's at least a starting point, right? But I recognize, and the reason that I sort of come in and step in is, anybody can go out there and find the tools and to self-study it and self-master it themselves. So that's certainly one aspect of it, but not everyone knows maybe all the different types of business models that exist. And so
you have a number of years and 12 years of marketing and business development. There's no mistaking that you're very intelligent on the business side and also very powerful as well, understanding how to use the gifts that you possess naturally.
Oh, thank you. Well, again, it was granted to me through the Creator. And,
Yes.
I had a number of years of experience of looking at why certain companies failed and why they succeeded. Partly it's business model, partly it's due to leadership, partly it's due to team. There's a lot of these different aspects that can contribute to a successful business and company. But at the end of the day, it all starts with the founder and again, their understanding of themselves and what they really want to build and truly bring out into the world.
See, you keep talking, and I keep finding stuff to ask because talked about the business leaders, the bosses, the owners. How difficult is it? Even if you've had this experience or not, you can still answer this question. How difficult is it to work with an owner who wants you to work with the employees on mindset performance or shifting them into a different sales stratosphere when the energy that's negative or energy that needs to be worked on is the boss? Is the owner?
Yes. It
You
often
had that
starts there.
scenario.
Yeah. Well, one of the more recent modalities I certified in is called spiritual divorce. And not actually what it sounds, because it's not necessarily about relationship divorce, although that can play a factor into it. But what I have started doing with my clients is actually have them divorce themselves from the current business that they're in, because they have so many entanglements and so many energetic pulls on. I mean, first and foremost, sometimes people don't distinguish between themselves and their business. Like they think they're one and the same. Whereas, it should be its own, energetic entity as well. And so it's like, how can you let that entity take its own shape and have its own mind even? And you're just the facilitator of that.
You're just being.
It's almost its own being. Yeah. And it also dictates what it wants and what it doesn't want. Like I ask, I know this sounds a little, cuckoo, but I ask my
Well,
offers,
everybody thinks we're cuckoo. I mean,
um, every page on my website, I ask that, offer that if it's a group program or whatever it is, I ask them, okay, how do you want to be displayed, or what's the format that you want to be in? And I literally ask it as if it were a person. And so it's this beautiful relationship that you have with the business, as opposed to it being this more, egocentric version of, okay, the business is me. And, that's also where a lot of micromanagement kind of can come into play as well. And so, that's one aspect of what can hold some founders back is, their entanglement with it, but also the entanglement with other people that they've, introduced into the business as well. And so when you want to redesign it or you want to start afresh, it's a really good exercise. And what comes out of it is not what you think in terms of, okay, now we're done with this, like this, we're on to the next step. But it is actually more of what happens is there's a repair that happens with the people and the place and the environment, and like a natural repair. And people shift, they either shift roles or they shift out of the company, and because that's maybe in the highest and best for everyone. But lots of shifts come into play in the best possible way, as well.
yeah.
So,
So, Michelle, what are the pros and cons of spiritual tools in growing a
mm,
business?
yeah. Well, I want to say that entrepreneurship is a spiritual endeavor in and of itself. Whether or not you are spiritual, it's definitely a growth path that not everyone is willing to partake in, and is
Hmm.
willing to take the risk. And it always lands on faith, right? Because that's ultimately what you have, is just faith. Maybe it's just the faith in yourself, but faith in something that's going to get you through to the next stage. And you know as far as tools go, there's just, you can pick. There's such a gamut of what's out there. Ultimately, it's up to you and what you feel like you connect with the most. I'm not one to be like, this is the best modality and you should do this, or, I think every person is attracted to a certain one for specific reasons. And sometimes it's because, they've encountered them in past lives, and they're here to play with
Yes.
them again. Or there are other ones that, maybe they're meant to learn and dig into a little bit deeper this time around. Um,
And the people listening to the show, or the budding coaches out there, or a person saying, I can do this. I can just do this myself. And that's doing it. And that's why we're giving you everything that we know. Go for it. Because at the end of the day, you have to resonate with a coach, and you have to value a coach. And
mm,
Michelle knows what I'm talking about, because Michelle has a fee. And that's what she does for a living. And some people, Michelle, when they aren't paying a fee, it's probably that more harder for them to receive the coaching, because you have to be vested. But I wanted to ask
Mm,
you, yeah, you gotta be vested. I wanted to ask you, this new era, this new way that business model designs are being put together. Are there any success stories? I know we're running out of time, but let's wrap it up with this. Are there any success stories that you may have that you may or may not want to share with clients or with
mm,
yourself, using any number of modalities?
mm. Well, the way that I work is it's really this fusion of modalities. So I can't pinpoint and say, oh, it was that thing I told them
R-
about the astrology,
Right,
you know,
right.
or it was
Oh, the
that,
Reiki, the Reiki did.
that specific thought pattern that we unlocked, because I just naturally kind of go along with what's sort of needed in the moment. Um, but and I use my own intuitive gifts as
Wow.
well
Thank
to
you.
help
Yes.
people along the way as well, of course. Um, but yeah, there's, a number of people that I've helped to just clarify, you know, a little bit better. And that's all I hope for, to be honest, is can I get them one step closer to where they're going?
Yes.
I'm not here to solve necessarily all of their problems, but the step in the journey that they're in is they're in a place where they want to do something mission driven, but they are not quite sure how to shape it. And so the process that we go through really helps them by the end ultimately have a much clearer picture of what they're doing, what action steps they need to take, and have a general plan moving forward. So it's just,
So,
yeah, sorry.
so is there something? I'm going to let the audience know where to find you at right now. I'm going to put your website up. Is there offer you offering people? Is there any kind of seminars that are coming up? What has Michele got going on these days?
Yes. So you can go to my website and access my free quiz. It's called Your Brilliance Quiz, and there are 12 different archetypes. These are the archetypes that I developed based on people that I know. And it's funny how anyone who's taken it generally tells me it's pretty spot on. But there is just some general advice about that particular archetype and how to infuse it into your business, or just general advice about how to understand yourself better through that. So it's kind of my own device tool as well, as all the other tools that I work with. And so that's one place that you can get started. But I will also have a virtual retreat coming up, that is, part activation and part
Right.
just kind of going through a little bit more in depth what you might learn inside of my group program. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. www.michelleparad.com. www.michelleparad.com. Ladies and gentlemen, check out Michelle's website. Go and be her. Michele, I'm going to move you to the back office. I'm going to wrap this show up. Do not go anywhere.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. What a beautiful lady with beautiful gifts that has a beautiful message. And that message is holistic coaching. The message is helping you build a business using your own spiritual gifts. And how these gifts can affect your entrepreneur journey, and how you can benefit just by hiring a coach. So I bring coaches on the show. I bring healers on the show. Spiritual leaders, thought leaders, you name it. But it's all in the name of expanding your consciousness. I mean, just ponder that for a second. Consciousness is so expansive. It moves through a number of different genres, operations, businesses, family situations. We're always improving. Therefore, you're always expanding your thought process. You're always expanding your consciousness. We just happen to have, meaning coaches, specialized training in different areas to help accelerate the expansion of your consciousness in different areas, just like Michelle. We want to thank you for being with us tonight. We had a fabulous show. We had a fabulous guest. The expansion of consciousness will be live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter, and we're live on Instagram. Our YouTube account is at expansionofconsciousness.com. We are excited about the show. We're excited about this year, and we cannot thank you enough for spending time with us tonight. Thank you so much. And it's time for us to get out of here, and just want to tell you, relax, trust, and discover. Thank you very much, and good night.